my zone. Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Well, welcome back to Krown's Kid Okay, waking up for a very early and intense Saturday morning over here, feeling incredibly lightheaded as well because I've been spending my morning blowing up these fucking balloons. It's Elsa's birthday party today. It's not her actual birthday, but it is her party. So anyways, a few things to talk about on Bitcoin. I want to follow up from yesterday's analysis. Pretty much the same sort of things that we were speaking about yesterday are still very much relevant, actually, but the higher timeframes have changed around as we did get the weekly close for CMEs and a couple higher timeframes closes for Bitcoin spot as well. So I do want to bless you. Jesus Christ. Hey, enough of that. Anyways, I want to follow up on that. Also, more importantly, Krown trading app, very likely going to be ready, maybe even right after this video, and certainly by the end of the evening. And I'm operating off of Eastern European time, by the way. So by the time the Americans wake up over there, probably all good. So that will be found on the website and crowntrading.net, which the link is in the description below. And what else should I say? What else am I forgetting to announce? Twitch has been going absolutely phenomenally. Really enjoy those chats. Really long stream that we had yesterday night. So feel free to join on in as the community is growing. And the community is just fucking super cool over there. And I will probably not be on tonight due to said party. Anyways, it's like I'm gonna fucking party. No, man, I know how to look at pixels on my computer screen. That's about it, though. Anyways, I think I'm gonna make this video a little bit on the shorter side, or at least I intend to. So without further ado, I'd like to wish you the best, and the happiest, as always. And let's press that button, baby, and I'll see you in the live stream. And there she is, Bitcoin on the daily. Bitcoin once again making that little foray into that blue box territory that we spoke about over the last couple days. So target has been met a couple times. You know, do we swipe this area once again? I don't have a strong opinion on that, but Bitcoin is starting to look like it's losing momentum, especially on the lower and medium time frames. But before we get into that, I want to be very direct in saying this because we actually did see the CME close yesterday for the weekly, and the weekly is a damn good closure right here. And I do believe that over these next couple weeks, we will get more tries to the upside. Probably another try up, a little bit more medium term towards that last little prior high around here, which on CMEs would be about 96, 9700-ish region, which on spot would be about, granted the premium from CMEs, probably somewhere around 95, 9600-ish region. So I do think that we are going to get some more continuation coming into the next week or two. But for right now, over the weekend would be a nice time based upon that. That I actually do think that we probably pull back, but we'll get to the lower time frames in just a second here. I do want to focus on the higher time frames because there are a lot of really good things going on. So again, remember, this is actually confirmed because we did see CMEs close. So we got our first close above the 21 exponential moving average for the first time in a couple of months, since late October, essentially. More importantly, we also see weekly RSI doing something that it hasn't done quite literally since June, July of 2019, which was this whole run over here. That run to 14,000. Remember that shit? Well, it was great, but the RSI closing above the exponential is a big deal to me. More importantly, or sorry, maybe not more importantly, but just as important, we're also getting back above kind of this. Well, the problem with this actually is that we don't have enough price action history on CMEs to really populate this. But what I want to postulate here, and then we'll bring this on over to what's called to spot. Let me just get rid of this. There we go. Anywhere above this region on weekly RSI does seem to very accurately get our bull markets, and obviously below our strong, intense downwards moves. So last time that we broke above this on CMEs, and we'll go over to spot in just a second here, but this was essentially March, April of 2019. This major breakout out of this region coming in all the way from about 5,000 to 14,000, so almost a 3x from that price point. And once we broke back down below, right over here, well, that was quite literally the time when we got bearish back below 10.3 on that breakage, creating a downtrend on the weekly right here. Also, with regards to CMEs, we are officially breaking and resolving this falling channel to the upside. I do think that is, it's important, of course, but to me, again, still the biggest and most important thing for me is the weekly trend, and the trend is your friend if you let it be your friend. But in this case right here, the trend is technically still down. We are still making lower lows and lower highs. But I do think that we're probably going to retest this prior high right here and taking a gander at the greater crypto market. There's a lot of things actually reverting these weekly trends and quite literally confirming new weekly highs. So, or sorry, well, reversing the trends at least, not necessarily confirming new weekly highs. But my point is that, this market typically moves together. So it does increase the likelihood that we actually do see Bitcoin do the same thing as well. Not only that, but weekly Stokes going to be getting a lot of momentum here. We are going to be testing the edge of the bearish control zone. I believe, coming into next week, as these guys diverge away from each other quite significantly. So I do think that's another good thing on the board for the bulls here. And overall, this looks fine for, again, coming into next week, maybe the week after that, more continuation to the upside. Going over here to spot price action, and why I kind of want to make that relationship between CMEs and spot on the weekly, because again, spot doesn't close weekly until tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We very likely see spot, follow through in the same way that CME has. And what I mean by that is, most importantly, on weekly RSI, any sort of close above this blue box territory, which we're actually not there just yet. And I would say that is historically where your bull markets, or not necessarily bull markets, but just uptrends, like very severe uptrends in Bitcoin history are. You can see that we held this area all the way through October 2015 to January 2018. That was basically this whole rally right here from this region to this region, like quite literally a multi-1,000% gainer to the upside. Almost 6,000% gain to the upside. More recently, we got this move right here from 5 to 14, pretty damn good as well. And going back in the annals of history, we see that back on over here in, what was it, August 2012, it led us all the way from here to our next high, or next parabolic high in December 2013. So really, really good efficacy of that. And I would say that because CMEs are kind of closing above that region, as confirmed on Friday yesterday, we probably do see spot price action follow through as well. Technically, I'd want to see spot do it, see spot run. Technically, I'd want to see spot do it first, confirm it first. But I think that does bode well overall, and that would be right at the edge of 56 marker on weekly RSI, which I am running default periods for this. Anyways, of course, while we are here on the weekly 4 spot, we do see that weekly still holding up above the same trend line and rallying off it, which has caught all of our lows since February 2019. That means that this low over here at about 3,400 was caught. Then we got this low right here before this massive rally, and then once again this low over here. So I do like the efficacy of that as well. And there's one of the things that I really wanted to point out here. I suppose while we're here and kind of talking about the macro for a second, and again, we'll get into the micro in just a second here, but last kind of point on this, I do want to once again bring up the hash browns over here, as they, I keep on going back to this, as anytime we've gotten a buy signal on the hash ribbons, the low has been in for Bitcoin. Doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't return back down to the low, but we don't ever have an instance of Bitcoin closing below that prior low on a daily total closing basis. So, for example, we have a buy signal right here, right? And Bitcoin actually does go lower after that buy signal, but the low from prior was already in. We do not violate that on a closing basis. This example right in over here, this one a lot better. We don't really even get close to the prior low before. This one over here, terrible as far as timing a move, but really, really good as far as calling the low over here as safe and sound. This guy this buy signal over here, even worse because it tells you to buy even earlier. And then this guy over here, same thing, but for all the instances, the low was in prior, and with each and every passing buy signal, the low gets moved up just a smidgen more. This guy over here, actually really good timing one. This guy over here, pretty damn good timing one. This one over here, decent enough. This one over here, pretty damn good as well. And same things for all those guys as well. And of course, more recently, we did get a buy signal coming off of this region right here. Bitcoin did trade lower after it. It came at about 7,400. We did go down to about 6,900 after that. But again, no closes below the last prior low before that at 6.6 right here. So I do like that, and I do think that more medium to macro term, this is starting to look, as we've been saying for the past couple weeks, more and more like that. Is, if Bitcoin is going to reverse trends here, probably does happen from this region. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin is going to take the massive rocket dildo, green dildo emoji to the sky right here, even though I will have a very, very clickbaity title. I've been getting better at it, by the way. I've been consulting with some people, and it's pretty fun. It's also pretty hilarious because there's going to be some times where I'd love to do a clickbait title and then just completely go the other way with it, which the titles have nothing to do with the content. And the people who've been here for a while, they know. I try to have as much fun with them as possible without violating YouTube's laws. But as it stands right now, let's kind of simmer this down and go down to the short and medium time frames. So the daily did make it towards our target, and I do consider this a target met. I shouldn't use that word target. I really dislike that word, that terminology, target. But wait, where's the chart? This is a chart that we are operating off of. A test of the 200 simple on the daily, also into this blue box territory, one and the same essentially, anywhere between 90.50 and 91.50ish region in this $100 region right here. Good for a good for it at the very least a short-term pullback. Does this extrapolate into being a more medium to long-term, or sorry, well, maybe not long-term pullback, but medium-term pullback? Well, I would say that overall, as Bitcoin is situated right here, it is looking like the lower timeframes are getting pretty overdone, or at least pretty damn hot. We do see that 4-hour is starting to actually show some sell signals on 4-hour Joule right here. I'm curious if we have the same one on CMEs. Actually, we do have kind of one building on CMEs right there as well. We do see that 4 hours kind of losing the exponential in the RSI, getting kicked out of the bullish control zone. Not a death sentence in and of itself, but looking at 4-hour Stokes, we are curling back down. Now, we did remember this trend line from a few days ago. We did bounce off of this initially. We got that next try up into the 9,000s, but curling back down around this region, this soon does tell me that we're probably going to lose this and come back down and maybe test around the edge of the bearish control zone, which is going to allow for a nice little pullback. I do think that an obvious target on a pullback would be somewhere around the 21 on the 4-hour, which is currently at 87.50, which is not all that much actually. So Bitcoin can afford a pullback here. I mean, shit, we could pull all the way back to 8,300. That'd be completely fine. It wouldn't really destroy any macro structure or long-term structure, and it'd still kind of align with next week or maybe the week after that, get another try up above 9,000. But for right now, lower timeframes I do believe are trying to pull back. As we do see kind of the volume on this run diminish here. So we got that nice kind of curling down, or not curling down, but trending down volume, which tells me that we're probably putting in some sort of a formation here. I don't believe we have enough information just yet, but something like this, perhaps some sort of a rising wedge, which I'm really not a fan of wedges. But do we get another very short term time frame, getting back, maybe trying around 8,900, maybe a little bit above 8,900? I think that's fine, but this is now the big bad area to be aware of, right around 89.50ish region on a 4-hour delta closure. So as long as we are operating below there on a 4-hour closure, I do think that it's just going to be ranging, and then we probably do resolve this to the downside, and this would actually have a target a little bit lower, down to about 8,600. Which is kind of like the bottom side of our more proverbial medium term range here. Let me get rid of this trend line. There's too much shit going on here. I really dislike patterns like this. I actually don't see them play out too often, especially in Bitcoin land. But this one is kind of lining up pretty damn well, and weekend direction is typically contra to the week's direction, to the week's trend essentially. And in this case, that would mean that the weekend probably does trade a little bit down. If we go over here to the 3-hour, I think the 3-hour is already kind of building on the same sort of things. We do see 3-hour Stokes actually crossing back up, so maybe we do have a very, 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 very short-term move back up to the upside and test around 89. But I do think that momentum also are looking a little bit heavier here. 3-hour RSI is actually fine. I don't really have any issues with that. 3-hour Joule did give a sell signal on the high yesterday, it looks like, somewhere right around here at around 89.50ish region. Do you expect more of a move than like $200 on top of that? I would say yes. Or sorry, do you expect more of a move than what we've currently gotten? Typically, yes. We also have some bearish, or sorry, we do not have bearish. Well, we do have bearish divergence present between this area and this area, but realistically, it doesn't really start to take on that more greater median until we get to like the 10, 12 hour, 2-hour bi-hourly coming down as well. 2-hour Stokes curling down, 2-hour Joule, same thing. We're seeing it line up on all these time frames. 2-hour RSI, again, it's neutral-ish, so I don't really think that this is like a super problematic area. And like I said, the very, very low time frames here look like we probably do get another try up towards this region, maybe another scam wick up there. And same thing with the hourly Stokes coming down here. We've got the same signals all around pretty much, and hourly historical volatility percentile, more importantly, is really starting to crush down. So it does align with us likely getting a move outside of this more short-term range, probably in the next 24-hour session, between now and the weekly closure tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so a little bit more than 24 hours, perhaps maybe like 36 hours, something like that. But you do see that we're going to come to an apex on this. Let's see if that aligns with it. Yeah, it would align with it somewhere right around here. We are on the 18th day. This would say actually on the 20th, very early on the 20th my time. So that would be essentially around a weekly close tomorrow. We probably do get a break of this. And like I said, Bitcoin can very easily afford a pullback here, and it actually be more or less healthy and wouldn't really destroy anything. The point where things start to get destroyed though is below 80. Where's our last daily low? The point where things really start to actually get in trouble is below 8,200. So Bitcoin can really afford, quite a bit here if it wanted to. I don't have a strong opinion on how far back this pullback will get. It could also be that we don't pull back. I should actually talk about how would I know that I'm going to be wrong if we do pull this back? And I ain't even fucking in a trade right now. I don't care to trade on weekends for this reason specifically, just because, well, a lot of the signals that you do get, or a lot of your technical analysis is typically diminished on the weekends. But if Bitcoin basically closes a 4 hour above that 8950-ish region, then probably not going to be happening. We're gonna work our way back up to 9200-ish region and play around there for a little bit of time. But for right now, Bitcoin is obviously very, very strong on the medium time frames here. Very nice. But that can take a little bit of time to play out. 10 hour does have some bearish divergence present. We got 1, 2, 3 stabs right here, correlating with 1, 2, 3 on RSI, getting kicked out of the bullish control zone relatively soon. In the next hour and 9 minutes, that will be confirmed. We also do see 12 hour, kind of the same thing, but we don't have it confirmed on that third drive just yet, but we do have 2 drives present. This third one over here will be confirmed with any sort of a move down below the last prior low at about 87.67. Yeah, so if that does happen, very, 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 very likely we will see that low 8600-ish number tested. What happens after there? Probably a short-term bounce, and then the real question is, do we get continuation to that 8350 to 8400-ish area right here? Here's the thing though, and what I really want to focus on right here while we are on the 12 hour, something very, very big is brewing, and something that actually means quite a bit to me is brewing right here. And I was holding off on talking about it for a while because it is a big deal, and I want to make sure that it's extremely likely to happen before I start talking about it. Just because you never know what can happen. But the 12 hour is going to golden cross probably in the next. Probably around Monday, Tuesday, assuming Bitcoin does not come back down below 8,300. So 8,300 to 8,200 is kind of like the line in the sand, so to speak. As long as Bitcoin's above there, we will inevitably see these guys get the golden cross. And the reason why this is a big deal is because the 12 hour pretty much gets the macro really, really well. Last time we got a death cross right here between the green and the purple. That led us all the way down from about 10,000 down to 65 or 64. Last time we got the golden cross running over here, major massive move from April, 4,000 to 14,000 over here. And we stayed death cross the whole way through in 2018 throughout this bear market. No one-offs, no fake outs. But here's the thing, and here's what I want to focus on for a second here. You do see that in 2018, there were several attempts to get the golden cross after that initial death cross, and all of those ended up being these bull traps, creating these lower highs. So I would say that it is time to be vigilant against something like this. Now, I do think that because these guys are coming up so aggressively against each other, it's very likely we actually do get the golden cross. But traditionally speaking, I would like to see a pullback around like one of the lower period moving averages, the 10 very likely, which is at that 8,700 number, and the 21 pretty damn likely as well. As throughout the history of Bitcoin, I'm like losing my words right now. But you see that, we very rarely get signals on this. And when we do get signals on it, it typically plays out for a very long time. All the way from here in 2015 to 2018, we were golden crossed, didn't get anywhere close to being death crossed. Or actually maybe, yeah, there actually was a one-off right here. So I do take that back just for a split second there. And we did have a one-off right here on this failed rally attempt in 2014, 2015. But you can see that, this is kind of a good medium time frame to be judging something like that off of, because it does spur off some pretty hefty movements. And the more time that we have on Bitcoin, the more and more efficacious this likely becomes. So you basically see that in the more recent price action over the last couple of years since 2017, 2018. Those crosses, they like to play out for a long time. When they do get confirmed. So like I said, it's not confirmed just yet, but probably around Monday, assuming we don't dump down below about 8,300 to 8,400-ish region, 83 to 8,200-ish region, we will likely see that golden cross, and that would likely be the next impetus for, at the very least, a retest of our prior highs on the weekly, which would actually be potentially flipping around the macro trend. And personally speaking, I think that we'd probably we'd probably actually flip around the macro trend if we get that. And at that point, I'd just be generally bullish on Bitcoin because we'd actually have a reversal on the weekly, which again has called all of the perfect moves in Bitcoin's history since the dawn of time, essentially, for this asset. Anytime that we've had a weekly reversal, those have been your major moves to the upside and your major moves to the downside. And we will officially have a reversal here by making a higher high above this past prior high at a weekly close of 95.50, we'll call it. So yeah, and like I said, this is a pretty good setup right here. I do like this. Let's see, what do we have on the 3-day while we're here? 3-day Stokes getting way up there. They are getting quite tired. 3-day RSI, again, having a little bit of a change of behavior here. I think it's more present on the 2-day and daily. But looking at the momentum oscillators, especially Stokes, we are getting a little bit mature in this region. So I would be very careful against a nice little pullback, whether it comes from this like $9,000 region that we just tested yesterday, or whether we get another leg up to 9,500 first. I don't have I do think that we probably put it in here, but after that, I would be looking for some actual sideways action and a nice base to be put in somewhere between 9 and 95-ish region. 2-day Stokes getting hot up there as well. 2-day RSI, again, having a change of behavior here. We're back into the bullish control zone and maintaining it for the first time quite literally since June, July of 2019. Again, reminder, that was this run up over here. So that is significant, but very likely that, when you come up and test around this region, you are going to pull back off it just initially. It's quite normal. So I wouldn't necessarily be calling like super bear, just based upon that. But more importantly, the daily and 2-day are very obvious in this manner. We do have a severe change of behavior here. Again, you can see that all throughout this last downwards move from 14,000 down to 6,400. We do have the daily RSI and the 2-day RSI to a little bit of a lesser extent getting rejected from the bullish controls on the whole way through. And this was June highs right here, quite literally on $14,000. Ever since then, we've gotten rejected and been allergic to the zone every fucking test. Now we do have a change of behavior over here, as you can see, a nice consolidation at this region, initially getting rejected, but then getting back above and making a new high. That's a big deal. And that is a change of behavior. Now here's the thing: do we have bearish divergence potentially presenting itself right now on daily RSI? We actually do have a small case of it presenting itself. So if Bitcoin does essentially fail to get continuation to the upside here today, I do think that we're going to spend, some, at the very least, a short-term time coming a little bit down and sideways, and probably even a medium-term time frame, medium-term doing it as well. But I don't think that Bitcoin's really in trouble as long as it's maintaining again above about 8,200 at the very like most line in the sand region right here, and even 8,300 is probably fine anyways. So yeah, that's what's kind of brewing right now. So yeah, anyways, let's see, daily Stokes getting way hot up there as well. I think 12-hour Stokes are already starting to curl down. Indeed they are, but actually not that strongly, funnily enough. Not that strongly. Let me make sure that I'm recording. I am recording and my microphone's working. So nice. Do that 22 minutes in, Krown. Don't bother wasting your time. Goddamn. Sorry about that. Anyways, yeah. I do like all those things. So, to kind of summarize those thoughts, probably short term, medium term, come a little bit down, sideways. Longer term, I do think that we get another try to the upside. I think this is quite constructive here and quite good. I'm curious though, okay, so we actually did, we have potentially a little bit of bearish evidence formulating on the daily right here, but that won't be confirmed at least for another day actually. So this is going to take its time. And if we do get continuation, especially if we close above the 200 simple today, that will not happen. And if we close above the 200 simple, and this is where I become a lot more confident on a price action once again. Right now, I'm kind of in limbo, as you can see. If I had to call it right now, I do think that we put in a little bit of a short-term top here, but long-term, try again to the upside. If I wanted to confidently call some more upside, presumably right from this region right here, I need to see today's daily dollar close above the 200 simple at 90.55 on stamp. And then yes, I'd look for a very, very soon short-term continuation to the last prior high of 9,500, probably a small pullback from there, and then probably push on through. So yeah. all that kind of lining up quite well. Let's with all of those major pivots on the price action in mind, let's go check out the expected moves chart and see what's going on over here. So we do see that the first in aviation is actually showing more bullish activity here, to be fair. It is showing that the top side of the first in aviation showing right around 91.50, which would be well above the 200 simple on the daily, which is my next sort of gatekeeper for that next medium term move to the upside. Probably another $400, $500 move, 95, 9600, as we spoke about before. And that's actually well within the probability, well within the realistic probabilities to happen today. So it is certainly possible here. It is certainly possible that we do rocket on through, and I'm going to be wrong about a short-term pullback, as it's probably more than 32%, more than 34% likely to happen. By the same token, to the downside, we do see the first standard deviation to the downside showing around 8,600. So if Bitcoin does want to have that short-term pullback, I do think that 8,600 is probably a good little area, and at the very least, we'd have a nice bounce there, and after that, come back and reassess. Bitcoin wants to come down to like 8,300. Again, not a huge deal as long as it doesn't break 8,300, which would below the second standard deviation to just one side would be literally less than 2.5% chance to happen. Well, for today, so very unlikely. I don't think that Bitcoin's going to fall apart here. I don't think that this is a fake rally, so to speak. At least that's my disposition as long as we're above, especially 9,200 and even 9,300. So 92 is even more important than 93, and that would be even less than a 2.5% chance to happen today. So I do kind of like that. And to be fair, I really want to point this out. It actually is more likely that we actually do break up to the upside here, governed off this. Now, personally speaking, this is where I'd say my TA and this would really coincide, because I do think that it's kind of unlikely. But let's go down to a lower time frame and see if it does hold true. We do see 4 hours just in a nice consolidation, kind of stair stepping. I would actually be bullish as well, so fair enough. I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree. No, it's, of course, man. That's for probabilities. Doesn't mean that it's 100% gonna happen, but it would say that it's actually more likely to happen. Interesting, very, very interesting. Anyways, okay, cool. So I want to quickly go back to CMEs. I forget if there's anything interesting happening on higher time frame oscillators. Daily Stokes up, 12-hour, getting a little bit tired there. Trend line forming here, coming at the, I'm going to imagine it comes at the edge of the bullish control zone. Yes, indeed it is. So yeah, it actually would make sense. I think it makes more sense here to pull back a little bit. Here's the thing though, the greater crypto market's pretty fucking good. Mrs. Litecoin and I think it was BSV leading the chart to the upside. Maybe Litecoin a little bit more healthily than others, but Litecoin putting a little bit of a what's this one called, I forget what this one's called. But this can be a topping formation right here, especially if we trade below the low of these two dildos, which is about $58 even. So if we do trade below $58 even, I would look for a move back down here towards about 55 and a half, 55 and a quarter region. What the fuck is it? This pin? No, I keep on thinking pin bar. It's not a fucking pin bar. It's a tweezer top. Yeah, there you go. Potentially in play, and we will be closing this next 12-hour dildo in a little bit less than 3 hours here. So we will get clarity on this situation, and if we get continuation after that next 3 hours to the downside, assuming that it closes like something like this below $58, and yes, I would look for us to come down at the very least to $56 and probably 55 and a half. Is where I'd be looking towards, and that likely coincide with Bitcoin playing out its own pullback. In fact, I feel a lot more confident looking at Litecoin here, just because Litecoin does have bearish evidence likely in play. In fact, technically it is confirmed here. 12-hour Stochs coming down as well. We do have a nice trend line forming here, so I do think that it gets picked up somewhere around the edge of the bullish control zone, but would allow for a nice pullback. Let's see what the daily is looking like. Daily's right at the 200 exponential moving average. It just makes it difficult, man. It makes it difficult. We almost hit, we pretty much hit the target yesterday of $64. Really fucking close. We got up to 63 and about a quarter. I was saying 60, a little bit below 64 in this blue box territory. Close enough is close enough. I think we're probably ready for a little bit of a pullback here. Also, more importantly, historical volatility percentile, which I do believe with these settings that I'm using right now, 10 and 100, works a lot better on a daily. And anytime I see red on a daily, I am looking for local highs or local lows. For example, last time that we were this red, we were putting in a major low right here. Major low right here before this nice rally, major low right here, major low right here. This typically does happen at the very least at medium term pivots, so I do kind of like that. Once again, looking at 4 hour, 4-hour has the same sort of bearish divergence. We got 4-hour Joule starting to give a signal as well, or it's going to be building up a signal, and pretty much the same thing as Bitcoin essentially. Let's go check out Mr. Buteral. How's he doing? Buteral is kind of a laggard right now. Same signal on the 4-hour. I shouldn't even be giving these out right now. Jesus Christ, man. The people actually pay for that. They rightfully so, and I totally understand, why they don't want me to do that. But I do think it's fun. I do think that it's kind of fun to talk about anyways. No disrespect. Looking at this over here, 4-hour stows coming down. I think that Mr. Buteral is very obviously getting rejected from the 200 exponential moving average right here. We do not have that same bearish we do not have the same bearish divergence present on the daily here though. We do have a nice cross in the exponentials happening at the same time, but we could very easily come back down to the space at about $159.5, $160. Lower time frames, stair stepping right now, but bearish divergence is building on pretty much all time frames up to, I believe, a 12-hour here. And yes, indeed, in the 12-hour, has it confirmed? Technically, no. I'd want to see us come back down below the low of this guy right here, 164.72 on, what is this, Finex? I think it's Finex. Cool. Anyways, okay, all right. I want to follow up on pound yen from yesterday. A lot of people were talking about this, especially during the Twitch stream. I actually still think that this is fine. This is a nice pullback into this region right here. I do think that coming into next week, we probably get another try to the upside. I actually don't think that's a huge deal. Yes, we did close below the weekly 200, or did we? Yeah, actually by a hair, by ball sack hair right there. It probably opens the week a little bit down, bounces here, and then I'll be looking for another try to the upside. I think this is actually kind of fine. I'd really only have like a major issue with this if like we were to close a daily below 142.7 or something like that. That's where things start to come into pressure once again. And more importantly, dollar yen, which I think is kind of indicative of what all these yen pairs are doing, is still working its way upwards and onwards. Now it is in a little bit of a rise, not a little bit. It is in a rising channel right here and kind of finding the top side of that. But well, actually, it kind of does look like it wants to pull back here. But moving averages are starting to flip around to a bullish posture, and it's still going to take some time. But I do think that longer term it's actually looking okay. Gold kind of holding its own. As I've been saying, I actually do think that it's flagging out once again here. And I would be medium term bullish, long term bullish on this as long as we maintain this blue box, which we tested perfectly coming into this week, 1535 region. Now I do think that we're probably going to gear up for a test towards 1575, any sort of a break above there on a daily, and I'd look for another move into this blue box territory, probably deeper than that last push. I would not be bearish on gold as long as we're above, again, 1535 region. Probably going to flail around within this region overall, though. Going to be doing some sideways consolidation, but maybe coming into maybe another week or two away. I'd probably look for it to give another try. Weekly looks okay. Not the picture perfect, but not terrible. Euro dollar finally breaking down. So we finally have clarity on this situation. I'd be bearish on it. Probably gonna trade up a little bit to open up the week next week towards like 111, 111.2 region. But I'd be looking for it to come back down to 110 even, and perhaps even lower than that over time, confirming yet again another lower high right here. So fair enough. I actually hedged a little bit of my dollar exposure into euros. Coming off that rally, so I look very, very silly for doing that, but I'm fine with it at the end of the day. Still mostly in dollars anyways. Okay, cool. Alrighty. Let's go check out Bitcoin dominance. That was looking incredibly fucking bearish last time I looked at it. God damn. It's probably going to bounce up here a little bit coming into next week. But after that, I probably would look for more continuation of the downside. This is one of the, God damn, I can't believe I'm saying that. I won't say it just yet, but it does look like I want some downside. See what the daily looks like. What does the daily look like? We can't even bring up a daily. It doesn't even want to be looked at. Yeah, it probably does bounce a little bit here, but after that, I'd be looking for continuation of the downside. So all it's probably going to pull back a little bit and then resume some party in action. Fair enough. Let's go check out traditional marks really quick as well. New all-time highs. Holy fuck. Wow, crazy, amazing, so surprising. We've been bullish on this for a long time, man, and I'd still be bullish on it. It's really fucking strong here. Almost 2 year long consolidation right here, breaking to the upside. It's like people just want to short it with each and every little tick up. Like fucking hell, man. Have some respect. Have some goddamn respect. And more importantly, as we've been showing, strong correlation between traditional markets and Bitcoin, and I won't go through the full rigmarole on this one, but you can see very easily here that correlation coefficient quite strong, and more importantly, the R squared is very strong on this. So the fit of the correlation coefficient is really, really good, which is really what you want to see. Like a strong R squared is what confirms your correlation coefficient, because a lot of times you might have like a strong correlation coefficient but a very low R squared, and you're wondering why the fuck these things aren't following each other. Well, that's why the R squared is kind of measuring the fit of that regression. And as you can see over here, if traditional markets are strong, you would expect Bitcoin on the macro, not on the micro, not in the medium term, but on the macro, to follow suit essentially. And we do have a nice trend on that, which we'll talk about probably tomorrow. Anyways, back on to Bitcoin. Like I said, a little bit of a faster video today, only 34 minutes instead of 40 minutes. Not so crazy different. But yeah, man, I think that's probably going to do it for right there. We'll quickly wrap up the lower term timeframes. I do think that, very, very low timeframes here, maybe trade back up, maybe a little bit above 8,900, something like that. But overall, barring any sort of a 4-hour close above 8,950, I do think that this will trade down and pull back probably, between now and the end of the weekend. First area of interest would be obviously 8750. It's not like too great of a call, but after that, 8600 is where I'd really be looking towards, and I would be looking for a bounce around there. And I do think that things will bounce around there, and that would be completely fine. And if for whatever reason, if things were to just absolutely smash down below 8,600, then I'd be looking towards the critical points of around 8,300 to 8,200-ish region on a daily to close. And of course, this will all be, this analysis will self-destruct and be completely wrong, or not necessarily completely wrong. I mean, when it comes down to trading, man, there's always multiple things that can happen. That's why you have to talk about multiple scenarios and what their triggering points are. I always wince a little bit when someone in the comments will say something like, "Oh, so you're saying it can go up or down?" Well, it's like, you're gonna have a very difficult time being a trader, man, if you can't ride a fucking wave and understand that the wave can come in multiple different forms. Whenever we're talking about technical analysis, we're only talking about statistical setups that over time are more likely to work out in the way that our edge says, but doesn't mean that every time. I mean, if something has an 80% chance to work out, it's gonna be 20% of the time it doesn't, and you have to know what's I'm always asking myself, what am I gonna do if this one goes the other way on me, and how will I know? I also like to make this analogy as well, because I remember it a lot from when I used to play baseball. Whenever I'd be out in the field somewhere, we'd always ask ourselves before the play, okay, if the ball comes to me, what am I going to do with it in this specific situation? And that's always how you want to be thinking. And those situations are dynamic; they change, of course, and they can come in multiple different forms. But basically, to the point, without fucking around too much more, and I don't want to waste any more of your time, any sort of a daily to close, especially above the 200 simple at about 90.56, and yes, I would look for extension to 94.50 to 9500 or 95.50 in this pocket right here around the last prior high. And I forgot to mention this as well. We can quickly go back on over here and follow up on this. The total market cap has very obviously closed above the 200 simple. Not bad at all. And we're gonna actually have a chance to have our first open and closure above the 200 simple today, above that 236 billion mark with a B. So pretty damn cool, pretty damn good. And longer term, does it set up another rally attempt towards a 248 billion, 250-ish billion area, our last prior high? Probably yes, actually very likely yes. And you can see over here the daily is starting to really curl around for some good things. In fact, I think I forgot to talk about the daily golden cross will happen actually around the end of the month, assuming that Bitcoin does not crash back down below about 8,800-ish region. So things are really setting up for the longer term, which I do think that Bitcoin is going to get some more tries to the upside. But short term, I wouldn't mind a little bit of a pullback here. Anyways, I think we covered all the bases there. Very cool. Anyways, man, I want to wish you the best as always. Like I said, I very unlikely will be on Twitch later today. I want to continue to set up this new computer, which I'm so fucking happy about. It's such a goddamn beast and it's beautiful. With that said, man, I'll be on Discord, of course, and try to be as attentive to the. I don't know how to speak English, man. I'll try to be on there. I'll try to respond to messages to the best of my ability, but understand that today I will be a little bit away and working on some other endeavors. So with that said, take care, and until next time.